All right, we're on the phone with David Morales from Brooklyn, New York. One of the all-time legends, I guess you would say, of the house scene, and a very fitting interview for a special house edition here on Amplified Radio. You're just coming out with a new album, Two Worlds Collide. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
It's an album that I've been working on for the last couple of years. Not because it took me that long, it's more because of my crazy schedule. And, I did the album not thinking about making an album. I really just thought about just getting back in the groove and making records, like just singles here and there. But then at some point, I ended up deciding, because I was just, recording songs, and then I somehow just decided, okay, you know what? I guess I'll just do an album. And lo and behold, then it came pretty easy. Like I said, I had an album out 10 years ago, and I didn't expect to do the first one either. It was sort of like handed to me. People like coaxed it out of me, not because I was looking for it. I was a DJ doing remixes, and then so I took a break. Around 1996, 97, I took a break and just started doing a lot of traveling around the world, DJing-wise. And then 3 years ago, I put my studio together and decided, it's time, I got the bug again to make records. And, obviously from playing a lot and traveling around the world, it sort of gives me more ideas to make stuff. And that's when I just started to think, I'm just going to make records. And because the DJ culture is so big now that, your fans look for music from you now, So it's a perfect opportunity for me. I've got experience making records. I've been making records for years. So, and I also felt that there was a lack of good songs and productions for the dance scene as well.
Would you call yourself a remixer or a producer?
At this point, a producer.
A producer, okay. Now, would you call yourself a producer or a DJ first?
I'm a DJ first.
You started off back in the days when house was born, pretty much, playing at places like The Loft, Paradise Garage. Compared to then, how is today's scene?
Wow. It's a big difference. First of all, musically it's different, for one. The music was so much better back then. The unity with people. You talk about between the loft and the garage. We're talking about two different two complete different societies compared to what's going on out there today. They were both private membership clubs, where the owners actually cared about what was going on. They cared about the customers. It wasn't just about making money. They put the money back into their club, and they both had incredible sound system and the ambiance, and, people went there just to have a good time and to dance, not to pose, not for any attitudes or anything like that. It was such a melting pot of different people, different sexual orientations, different ages. It was great. I was, 19 years old going to the loft, and yet, there were people in there that was, 40 years old, that I was partying with, and, who cared?
Are there any places around the world that still have that sort of mentality behind them?
Japan is great. I play at a club in Montreal once a month on Saturdays in a club called Stereo. That's really good as well. That it's the closest thing to coming to that because of the sound and because we're just selling a dance floor. We're not selling alcohol, bottles, table service, or nothing like that.
All right, tell me a little bit about Stereo in Montreal. What's the club like for those that haven't been there, and is it one of those places that, as a DJ, you must hit at some
absolutely.
point?
Absolutely. I believe, as I told many, many DJs, You know, I always tell friends of mine, guys, and I was like, listen, you need to come to the club, and for the simple reason that you need to experience, first of all, the sound system and the ambiance of the club because of the way it is. It's almost like playing in somebody's living room. You know, um, so I'm always, talking up the players, telling people, because, I have experience, and I play all around the world, and I know, and I'm just not like talking it up because it's my favorite place, it's because I know, and it's all about, we cater to, the club is set up to cater to the DJ, It's set up like, it's like a race car driver that you give him an incredible race car to drive, and all he has to do is sit in it and drive.
You picked up a Grammy back in 1999. Has that changed the way that other people have perceived you in the music scene?
I don't know. Because for me, for me, the award came so late. You know what I mean? For me, I had accomplished so much that for me, so I had already made my mark in the scene. So there was no question, for me. So it was a long time coming, if anything.
You've had the chance to work with some names: Mariah Carey, Aretha Franklin, Jocelyn Brown. Who's been the funnest to work with?
Who's been the funnest? Jocelyn was definitely a lot of fun. Mariah is the one I spent the most time with, so of course I've had some great times working with Mariah. You know what I mean? So between Mariah and Jocelyn, those are my... I even had fun with Julio Iglesias. He was a lot of fun as well.
Is there someone that you would like to work with that you haven't had a chance to?
Oh, Patti LaBelle.
And why?
Because she's so amazing. Oh my God.
Oh, that's need to be said, eh?
Oh, she's just so amazing. She's off. Oh, you're talking about, it's come from the same league as Aretha Franklin,
Let's step back and have a look at your new album. What do we expect off of it?
What to expect of it? Songs.
Mm-hmm.
All stories. Each song is a story. New artists, of course. What else would I say? I think, something different for what I normally do. Well, I don't know what that is, because, you're not supposed to do what you normally do. Otherwise, you have to somehow reinvent yourself somehow. So, for me, it's more like taking this album because, I want to write and produce for artists. I'm not just interested in just doing things for myself. So it's important for me to showcase my talent as a writer and as a producer.
So you weren't pushed into creating anything. This is everything
No,
of your own.
No, I did what I wanted to do, case closed. Because I financed it myself. I decided I was putting it out on my own label, and that was that.
How has Def Mix worked into the whole plan of your career?
Well, Def Mix, when I started Def Mix, Def Mix for me was really just a name to attach to my productions because I thought it was a cool thing. It wasn't so much because I thought about starting a company that was going to make us, to make a difference, Obviously, it's turned into a brand, It's nice to know that you've been responsible for some changes in the history of music and the scene of dance. When I started in 1987, it's when Frankie came back to live in New York, and he came into, Judy was handling him, so we ended up, what we were both doing just fell under the Def Mix umbrella, and that's just how we ended up doing it. And of course, everybody in the world knows that I stand for Def Mix, make no mistake.
Was there a time in your career that you just sort of caught yourself saying, wow, this is huge, or this is a turning point in the entire music industry?
I don't, not necessarily, no.
You're heading up to Toronto for New Year's?
Yeah.
You have the chance to play there. How is the city compared to other places?
Toronto's good. I mean, I've been going to Toronto since like 1985 when I used to play at the club called the Twilight Zone that had an original Richard Long sound system. It was a great after hours. It was incredible. Bo was great. I was there last month. It was a really good gig. Everybody was so nice. I actually agreed to do New Year's Eve before I even played at the club because of the reputation of the club. And, of course, after playing there, I don't regret my choice. Everywhere is different, but, once you get into the room and you get behind the turntables and when the vibe is right, you can be anywhere in the world.
You are born in 1961. It's
62.
now...
Don't make me older than what I am now. Take it easy now. 62.
Okay. It's now 2004, and you're seen by many as still atop of the whole scene. What do you think is going to be the next big change in the scene?
I think the next big change. I think obviously the main change that has been going on has been obviously the technology, as in CDs, as in DVD players as well now. I mean, and the computers coming in. The technology is changing more than anything, and it's giving DJs more ways of being creative with records, with tracks. You know what I mean? And working. And I'm working them. So you're almost practically these days, the technology is becoming where you can do remixes right, live, which is something that really, couldn't be done years ago.
If you had the chance to do anything within or outside of the music industry other than DJing or producing, i.e. maybe running your own club or
I don't know.
writing?
You know what? It's tough to run your own club. You have to be there 100%. You have to be there. I was a short order cook before I got into playing. When I was playing, but when I started almost 30 years ago, DJing wasn't the culture. It was like a second job. Like a part-time job that you earned extra money. I originally wanted to be a professional baseball player, and then I thought about going into law, but law was a dream because I wasn't going to college and no shit like that. Definitely wasn't happening. So, and then I tried joining the Marines, and that didn't happen. And I tried all kind of things, but you know what? I ended up where I'm supposed to be, and that was playing records. I started doing my little parties. I was a promoter. I used to on my coffee break make. I used to buy stencils and make my own flyers and glue them up to, by buses and by train stations and on poles and things like that.
What would be one of the crazy things that you've seen in the scene? One night that seems more memorable than others because something happened. Can you think of one?
What can I think of?
I'm sure there's many, right? So.
Yeah, I'm trying to find even just, I don't know, my God, there's been so many. What has been memorable? Let me think. What has been memorable? It's nice to have women come up to you, take off their tops in front of you and showing you their boobs. That's definitely nice.
Yeah, I don't think you'd forget that.
Definitely forget that. I'd have a girl come into the booth and go, "How do you like these?" Like, okay, cool. Very nice. Can I get back to playing?
Do you find people try to distract you because you're the DJ?
Always people do, of course. I play in Italy, and the kids, they're such fanatics. They don't even know that they're distracting. They're Dave, and I'd be like, come on, shut up.
There's an incident down in Mexico. I'm trying to think of the DJ, and it slipped my mind. I don't know if you've heard of it or not. But he was playing, and the promoter then came up to him with a record and said, play this record. He was a progressive DJ. They asked him to play some hard techno, and he refused to.
Right.
Do you know the incident?
No.
Okay. What happened was he said no, and he walked off the stage because of it.
Right.
The bouncers then forced him back onto the stage to play that song.
No.
If you were forced into that situation, what would you do?
Nobody forcing me. Personally, now I don't play a record. If I was, I've walked off a stage before for technical reasons. But if somebody asks me a record, I'll say no. And if they told me you have to play it, I'll say no. I'll tell them you play it. And that's as and that's as far. Even if they bought bouncers for me I'll still be no. I'm not playing it. And if it gets hairy, then you have to call the police, do whatever has to be done. Okie doke.
So it was a pleasure having you on.
Oh, my pleasure. Hey, what's up? This is Dave Morales, and you're listening to Amplified Radio. Hey, everyone, this is Dave Morales, and this is my latest track. Check it out right here on Amplified Radio.